Welcome to Decades, hosted by Chris Rubio. Decades is a show made up of 5 generations of people brought together to discuss topics you wouldn't normally talk about with others. The goal of the show is to learn by having some good, possibly heated discussions, without losing the simple fact that it's okay to talk to different people with different opinions other than your own.
Welcome to the first live episode of Decades. I think this is episode 27. Sub 60 Ed will clue me in later when I bring him on. Welcome to everyone at the NGBN.TV network, everyone watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You guys are going to be able to comment live. Nothing's going to come in until Sub 60 Ed gets his little paw and he presses go time, but we're going to be able to see everything. If someone just said, hey, everyone. Sub 60 Ed, I'm going to bring you on first because I forgot to last time. Give it up for the best sound man, producer, gaffer, Rubio handler there is in the world. What's up, Sub 60 Ed?
Thank you, Rubio. You remembered me this time. I thought you just kind of passed by. I appreciate it. Well, this is a fun event here, live on YouTube, Facebook, and everything. So let's they're not here to see us. You know that, right? Anybody who's going to be watching the show
Speak for yourself.
Is here to see you know what? I got to put this up. This person gets comment of the time of the show.
Sub 60 Ed, you can tell your wife to stop commenting.
All right, go ahead.
Let's start with the young ones to go into the old ones. Representing our 20s, we've got Cruz Rubio. He's a student athlete in Middle California, loves to barbecue, argue, wear chanclas. He allegedly is a skateboarder and also goes to the beach. What's up, Cruiser?
Howdy.
Fantastic. Next up, we represent our 30s, all the way from Canada. Hopefully you didn't have any centimeters of snow. This is Jenna Ganjay. I think I pronounced it wrong. CrossFit competitor. Heaviest deadlift is 315. She's a bat killer in her house with a steak knife. Jenna, can you give me a 5-second clip of how that went? I mean, did you stab it or was it more like a slicing motion?
No, it was stab against a windowsill.
Oh, so it was planted there and you came in hot.
Yeah.
Through the head, body shot. What do we got?
Oh yeah, no, like through the body, and then it just stuck on there.
Okay. All right, we're gonna need to see photos of that. Let's go to our 50s. We've got Alex Chris. He's head of the Charlie Sheen fan club. He's originally from Ukraine, grew up in the USSR, lives in LA. He's a beer connoisseur. What's up, Gru?
Greetings from city of Los Angeles.
Fantastic. Next, we've got from the free state of Florida, Bill Geyser. He's a phenomenal swimmer, entrepreneur, wearable tech guru, and all-around great guy. What's up, Bill Geyser?
Greetings from the free state of Florida, people.
And last, but certainly least, we've got representing the 60s as well. We've got Judge Jay Gaskell. He's moved again. He keeps trying to find the best Wi-Fi in his house. This is actually quite impressive at this point. He's an Idaho native. He's a Seahawks fan. He's a retired district court judge. Makes the best old fashioned in the Northwest, allegedly. Welcome, Judge. Hopefully we have you the entire episode.
That would be good. Welcome. Hello.
It's a way of life. I look at you and I say it's a way of life. All right, so we've got 2 topics for hit. Pretty spicy one. We're going to talk about the pandemic or plandemic and the different presidencies of Joey B versus El Trumpo. Let's start with the pandemic or plandemic. A lot of conspiracies around this last 3 years where you have to wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask. The mask they want you to wear, even on a plane, literally on the box says, this does not stop COVID-19, but you still got to wear it. You've got a vaccine that's basically become a therapeutic where you've had Stephen Colbert. He's doing his show live from his home now because he has 7 shots. And this, I think, is his 4th time with the Rona. So, and then the argument, of course, on the other side would be, well, if he didn't have the vaccine, he would be much worse, which I don't really understand that argument because then it's basically the argument of, I could say if I had hair, it'd be golden locks. And I don't understand it. So let's start with Jenna. Jenna, because you were at Canada, and that was a little bit more locked down than we are. You're saying pandemic or plandemic?
Absolutely planned.
Oh,
yeah.
Coming in hot.
That's what I think, especially lately with the whole new Wuhan lab stuff that come out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was one where I can't remember who the comedian was, one of those late show guys, and how it was the whole bat theory. And he said, finally, after like 2 years, he goes, guys, it's in Wuhan, and there's literally a coronavirus lab. Maybe this is where it came from. So, Jenna, you're thinking more plandemic. Judge, we'll go to the flip side. What is your thoughts on this?
Absolutely pandemic. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Unless you get every country in the world agreeing to go on this great conspiracy theory. You count all the deaths, the millions of deaths nationwide, worldwide. Sure, they were trying to figure out how to deal with it. That's why they came up with the mask, and even El Trumpo came up with started the vaccine. I don't see how anybody can dispute it.
But what if people say, well, okay, what if someone argues, well, it was a pandemic because everyone wanted to gain control to see how far they could push you? Because they've even said that the 6 feet thing, they literally just made that number up. They really wanted to go 10. And they said, well, they're never going to buy 10, so let's just go for 6 and kind of go from there. And that's where the argument of 6 is bad, or 6 is good, 5 bad.
It was a brand new virus. They were trying to figure out what they needed to do for it. The care and what to do about it evolved as they learned more about it. I think they did an excellent job in trying to figure it out and contain it. And I think you talk about viruses and golden hair. Well, flu shots are the same thing. They reduce the severity of whatever type of flu that you get the vaccine for. They don't necessarily prevent you from getting it.
Okay. Bill, you had your hand up.
I kind of fall maybe a little bit in between Jenna and the judge on this one. I think there was a virus that got loose, that got out of control, and that the government attempted to try to wrap its arms around it and put a stop to it. Like everything the government does, it doesn't really do things too efficiently. It doesn't do things too quickly, and I think over time there was some actions taken by the government that probably were a little bit too heavy-handed and probably had some other agendas in mind, not just the protection of people. What I'm still very disappointed about is we've never gotten to the bottom of the root cause of this thing. I do believe it was a manufactured virus, and the people responsible, I don't think it was a government conspiracy, but probably a couple of knuckleheads that were doing this thing. We need to get to the bottom of it, and they need to be served justice, because this killed more people than the Nazis killed in World War II. So it was a huge loss of life.
Jenna, you think they never will?
No. We're just going to have the whistleblowers, and they're just going to be smashed down by the government because they're saying things they're not supposed to be saying. Same stuff happens over and over again.
Cruz, you're the younger generation. How did it affect you? Because I remember you telling me a couple of wild stories because you were in northern and southern California during the process. How did it affect you? And what is your thoughts on it, pandemic or plandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it affected me pretty heavily. I mean, I missed the last half of my senior year of high school, getting to miss out on a lot of things like senior prom, graduation, things like that. But I mean, at the end of all that's, I mean, compared to what a lot of other people were going through with family members dying, I'm pretty grateful to say that the only thing that happened to me was missing my senior graduation. In terms of plandemic or pandemic, I think it kind of meets in the middle. I do think that there's certain aspects of what everyone said is true. I believe that I do think it was created in a lab in a sense. I think that's pretty proven by now, even though a lot of information doesn't want to come out about it. But I think it's fair to assess that at the beginning of it, it was a pretty serious thing. I mean, there was a lot of people that were dying from it. I had 2 coworkers pass away from it. I wasn't super close with them, but still in the same facilities as me. So you get to know them. And I do think it was serious, but I think over time it began to kind of level out, and the government kind of got a little bit frustrated with that, saying we don't want you guys to kind of go back to normal for whatever reason, whether it's control or whatever be it. But I think as time went on, it should have kind of leaned out, and it didn't really lean out enough.
Brandon Calkins says Geyser is spot on. I don't know if he's talking about your outfit, which is a sharp shirt, Bill, or the actual comment.
I think he's probably commenting on all the above.
Yeah, both. And it's one of those things too. I always lean more pandemic, obviously, if you can't figure that, just simply because, and I try to stay more in the middle as being the host, but with the whole vaccine alone, how L. Trump was pushing this thing, warp speed, and of course it doesn't get approved. And then like the day Joey B takes over, they're like, oh my God, it got approved. Like everyone saw that was going to happen. That was the most obvious thing in the world. Gru, you're nodding.
Well, I agree with both Bill and Cruz, kind of in the middle. And I think, of course, we probably won't see it happen, but if CCP is not held responsible for creating a virus, either intentionally or not, they're going to do it again next time.
But how are we ever going to be able to not stop it next time? To me, I think this was a big test run of, yes, it was a virus. Yes, it was deadly. But when it was proven, okay, if you're an obese human being that's throwing down 4 packs of Marlboro Reds and 2 gallons of Mountain Dew and 7 packs of Ho-Hos per hour, it's most likely going to affect you a little bit more. But then they lock you down so you can't even go out and get sun. I mean, in Southern California, they were closing the beaches. I remember seeing the images of someone getting arrested.
That's true. Yes. I was driving by. And it's very close to
Yeah, right, Santa Monica. And then you're saying, but no, you need more exercise to become healthier, but no, we can't stay inside. That's what really drove me nuts. What's your thought on that, Judge, about how they knew like the healthier you were, the better, but you can't become healthy, so sit in and just become basically a human veal?
I don't know what happened in California. They didn't keep us from going outside anywhere in Idaho.
Well, no, yeah. And that you and I were very, very lucky because I would travel around other places. In Idaho, it was like the Wild Wild West. I mean, given there's like 11 people here. But I remember when I went to Boston one time for a camp, I saw 99% of the people had masks on. I'm talking kids jogging outside at playgrounds. And it was like I was on a spacecraft and I landed in a different land because it was so different than Idaho, where we didn't have literally any regulations. I think our kids were off school for about a month. And then all hell broke loose. They just said, let it rain. Do what you got to do. Gru, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I remember like summer of 2020, I guess, and my wife and I, we went hiking in the local park. And everybody was like, walking up and down the trails. And it was a park ranger telling everybody, oh, you need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask. It was like, everybody was like scattered around. Nobody was like close to one another. But he was like, oh, I was told that you need to wear a mask. Wear a mask. Where's your mask? Kind of crazy. So it was just, insane.
Gru, I'm going to tell you again, when you get that fired up, I can't understand your accent. So you got to slow down. You get too fired up, and I like the passion and I like the heat, but I can't understand you. But was he just saying you got to wear a mask?
Yeah, the park ranger was standing outside next to the trail and telling anybody you need to wear a mask to hike.
Okay, I got you. But I talked to Judge, because you were on one side, I was on the other, obviously. And we were in Vegas a couple months ago or something like that. I can't remember when it was. And I said, if we see someone outside with a mask now, are they pretty much broken? And you even said, you're like, yeah, most likely. Or they're definitely ill or something like that. Yeah. Bill, you had your hand up.
The one thing, too, we haven't mentioned was the fact that, and this still bothers me considerably, is that there were therapeutics that we now know are very, very effective in treating COVID. Ivermectin is one of them. I think there are a couple of others. And early on, there was a very vocal, very serious effort to silence voices talking about this.
Yes.
And I want to get to the bottom of that as well. My hypothesis, which I have no evidence to support, is that the people silencing those voices advocating, who in some cases were scientists advocating for these therapeutics, were doing so to maximize revenues to companies like Pfizer. And I'd be very, very interested in seeing how the money flowed into their pockets.
Well,
I'm pretty sure it did.
100%, because when Joe Rogan got the Rona and he came on and said, hey, you got pumped through ivermectin, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B, or whatever, and CNN posted how he did that Instagram post, but they put a yellow tint on him, so he looked basically like he had jaundice.
Yeah, and horse medicine.
So fake. It was so obvious because everyone saw the Joe Rogan piece himself because the guy's got a bazillion followers, and they do that. And trying to push like ivermectin is this horse paste, or hydrochloroquine, I can't say it, is horse paste, which, it's been used for not 100 years, but like 50 years. It's won like 5 Nobel Prizes. It's cured millions, if not billions of people. It'd be like saying, oh my God, Cruz Rubio drank engine fluid when it was water.
Well, I think they actually cost lives. They cost lives in doing that.
Yeah.
And that's
400%. Well, because
we should
ivermectin was
never repeat that kind of bizarre behavior ever again.
But it's one of those things that you think, and people are starting to open up. I just read where Pfizer stock is crashing, and they've only 2% of Americans have taken the 4th, 5th, or 6th, or whatever booster that we're at right now. So I don't know if that's a good sign, bad sign. My thought is, I think
well,
you
the
should
40 billion they pocketed from the first go around is covering them pretty good.
Yeah, and I think you do whatever you want. Just don't tell me I have to do what you want. That's my whole theory. If you want to get 19 shots in your eyes, I could get 2 craps. Want to thank everyone for watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And everyone would please stop praising Sub 60 Ed. It's getting annoying. No one wants to see him or hear him. Just kidding, Sub 60. We're going to go to commercial right now, but when we come back, we have a special guest star. Sub 60 Ed, take us out.
You have been watching Decades, a show on the NGBN.TV network.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more. Streaming TV for men, created by men.
But why?
Why are we a network that inspires,
Educates, entertains, celebrates, and supports
men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, simply to save men's lives.
There is an epidemic in our community,
and it's taking men from us?
I'm talking about mental health and suicide.
But we have an answer, and it's streaming, live shows, sports, concerts, and more.
in a real way for men to lock shields.
We can't wait to launch this TV network for you and with you.
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 Join our movement at ngbn.tv, coming January 2024.
Back to Decades. Take it away, Rubio.
Welcome back to all our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn watchers doing live. Sub 60 Ed, can you come on camera real quick? Because I want to see, can you actually smile? Because in that little promo commercial, you look very angry. Are you okay?
Oh, no, I was fine. I don't know. I was trying to be serious. It was.
Why would you do that?
I don't. Why do I do half the stuff I do, Rubio?
I don't know.
Because I'm around you too much. Because I'm around you too much. It's your poor influence.
Poor influence.
Okay.
That's rude. As you can see, we've got a special guest coming up also on the NGBN.TV network at 9 p.m. Pacific, AC.
Super late for you East Coast folks, but it's 9 p.m. Eastern. No, 9 p.m. on the West Coast, midnight for you East Coast folks. Yes,
So
sir,
AC, obviously, people can they could just wear a blindfold and just hear your super sexy, smooth voice. I mean, that's one thing that I mean, I always recommend that. And another shocker, the judge went offline again, came back on. Judge, if you go offline again, why don't you just walk over here? You're 30 yards. I have another chair. You can sit on my lap. Do that.
The judge
AC.
in studio.
AC, tell us everyone what they can see tonight on AC Sports Live. Give us the gist of the show, the overall aura of it, and what you're going to talk about.
Well, tonight, man, of course, we had some instant classics this weekend, both in the NFL and in the NCAA. So I'll talk about that briefly. Not too much Taylor Swift talk, not too much Jada Pinkett Smith talk. I'll try not to stay, try to stay in my lane, but those are hot topics, of course. I really want to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs and how it pissed me off, and all the good top teams are out because they had a week off. And my Tender Love segment, and then I want to talk a little bit about mental health when it comes to stepping away, what's driving us crazy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how Israel Adesanya is taking a step back from fighting, and it's because of his mental health. So I think that's a good topic to talk about tonight on AC Sports Live.
Are you going to talk about how UCLA lost, USC lost, Cal Poly lost, WSU lost, the Dodgers lost?
Oh, man. It was a bad weekend. The Eagles lost. It's a really bad weekend. But
how about those
Cowboys
Cowboys
won? So
the Cowboys won. No one likes the Cowboys except for Bill.
Well, hey, Bill also
Cowboys
likes the
are gonna
Rangers
Cowboy.
too, so it was a pretty good weekend.
Well, AC, I know you're busy preparing for the show. We don't want to hold you much longer. Make sure everyone's watching AC Sports Live tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. If you're feeling a little sensual, just put a blindfold on and put on the headphones and just let them put you to sleep essentially. All right, AC.
You're a piece of work, Rube, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you,
Absolutely, man. Later.
See you later, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Hey, Jenna. See ya.
All right, so back to the panel. Let's talk about the different presidencies of Joey B versus El Trumpo. If you're a first-time watcher on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, Joey B is what I call Joe Biden. El Trumpo is what I call Donald Trump. I think you could look at this one through 17 different lenses. Not only what's happening in the world right now, the cost of everything, or just how the media covers both of them. Let's start with how the media covers both of them. Jenna, you being the farthest away, I don't know how much American media you actually see. Did you notice one way they covered El Trumpo and one way they cover Joey B, or is it you guys are just focused on Trudeau and his socks?
I can't answer the way that the news coverage covers both of them, but when Trump was president, I did watch more news. When Biden became president, I never watched any.
But it's still on there, or you're choosing because El Trumpo was just a show?
Yeah, no, I just chose, but no, it's still on there for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I just knew because he was a clown, basically. But
yeah. Judge, are you nodding or are you falling asleep?
He's muted.
Judge, you're muted again. For the love of God, we got you visually. Now we can't hear you. You're still on mute, Judge. For the love of God. Now you're on mute again. This is amazing. Just walk over here, man.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay.
He's walking.
Is he really walking over here? All right, Cruz, we'll go to you. What are your thoughts on the media portion of it?
I think with everything, it's just what outlets you look at. I think that there's a lot of things to consider too. I mean, at the time of Donald Trump's presidency, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, was run very differently from than what it is now. And at the time, it was all you saw was Trump feed, everything. And now, at the beginning of Joe Biden's presidency, you really didn't see much from him. You didn't really hear much at all in general. But now with the X being taken over by Elon, you kind of are beginning to see more and more. But I think it's all about who you follow and who you listen to. Of course, CNN's not going to show much on Joe Biden, and they're going to show everything on Trump. But you could say the same thing backwards for Fox News and other news sources like that. So I think it's really dependent upon which news source you listen to.
Yeah, it's one of those things, though. It's so biased on both sides that El Trump was walking down a wet ramp one time, 4 steps, and he holds onto the rail with both hands, and it's, oh my God, he's not fit to be a president. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then you got Joey B, who can't navigate upstairs, let alone downstairs, and he's falling over sandbags. At this point, he's using the lower steps to get in Air Force One because he can't make it up the giant ones, which I get it. The dude's 110 years old. But at some point, his handlers need to just say, okay, let's just turn the cameras off or something like that, because it's just not a good look. In my mind, Bill, am I wrong? Does it make America look a little weak?
Well, I think the world's changing. And I think in particular, news media, the business model of what we used to call news media is changing. The business model used to be predicated on delivering unbiased, as best they could, news. That changed. That changed probably even before Trump came on board. They now sell a narrative to an audience that's preconditioned to hear a particular narrative. And I don't think that genie's going back in the bottle. I mean, so you have a group of people that will religiously watch publications or media like MSNBC and places like that because they're going to hear a narrative that they want to hear there, and they're consistent in delivering it. The opposite side of that political coin is probably at Fox. For me, I stopped listening to all of them, to be honest with you. I started researching and trying to find independent journalists where I could find on my own what I think is ultimately the truth going on, or at least a pursuit of it. Whether or not I'm getting the truth, I guess history will be the determining factor of that. But
and who's the
traditional
one lady you
news
follow on
media,
Twitter the most?
their business models have changed.
Who's the lady you follow on Twitter the most?
Barry Weiss.
Very wise. As you can tell, we've got the judge. He walked over. He brought the dog in with him. So we're truly live here on Decades. We've got no filter. And Judge, the oldest of the group, is truly a mind stimulant for everybody right now. So now that we have Judge actually on a live feed, Judge, what is your thoughts on this? The difference between Joey B and El Trumpo?
Well, from what I heard Bill say, I hate to say I agree with Bill, but I think it's just whatever media you tend to watch. If you want to go left-leaning or right-leaning, or in between, they obviously are biased in their coverage, one way or the other, depending on which side or which slant they take. It's not like the old days where they just gave you the news. They use all these adjectives and adverbs to color over the story, and so I think they're covered equally, just badly.
That's obviously a given, though. Like, that's kind of old news. We knew that depending on the network, what kind of news you're going to hear about what president, right? Like, that's nothing new.
Go,
just worse.
Yeah, it's just worse. Guru, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think comparing how media covers Biden and how media used to cover Trump and how media used to cover Obama and how media used to cover George W. Bush, media basically, for the most part, with a little exception, pampers Joe Biden, and whenever he fucks up, basically they just shut the cameras off, or they don't let him answer questions and stuff, to make him look less bad comparing to how he actually acts. And that's what I've seen, since Biden got elected until now.
And then it brings up the question of, like, the media, as bad as it is, they don't even do anything. Like, for this weekend, he came back from wherever he was, and he stopped in Delaware for 4 hours, and not one person asked why. Like, why did you need to stop in Delaware for 4 hours, Joey B? And not one reporter asked. And no one did a statement on it. It's like, what are you doing in Delaware that you're the president of the United States? It's one of those things. Some Facebook user right now says, we no longer have a Cronkite, Brokaw, or Walters that just gave us the news. Then let the people decide what to do with the information. I think you're 100% correct.
Yes.
It's one of those things, but you put on your tinfoil hat, and how many do you think back then was it slanted as well? You just didn't even know about it.
Well, actually, I remember when it was that big tsunami in Japan, like 10, 15 years ago, and Anderson Cooper, he was allegedly reporting from Japan next to it, and he was like 10,000 miles away, someplace where like some kind of running water on the background. He was not even close to place that he was reporting allegedly from. So
yeah, he did Cooper Anderson did the hurricane one where he was in the canoe or something, and then two guys walked behind him.
Exactly.
That was fantastic. Regarding the world affected by both presidencies, obviously under Joey B, we've got a little bit more unrest. How much of that do you think is because he looks feeble and weak? And El Trumpo, I even said this back then, no one knew what he was going to do. I mean, he had a short fuse. When he said, like, I'm going to blow this country off the map, everyone's like, he might blow the country off the map. Bill, go ahead.
I think that was part of it. I think part of his effectiveness as a world leader was due to the fact that he was an unknown. In a way, it's almost like facing a new quarterback who's been out all season and you don't have any game tape on him. You don't know what the guy's capable of doing. Here was Trump. He had never led a political entity before, and now he is literally in the world's most powerful position. And I think he was a force to be reckoned with. But I also believe, and I'm not going to convince anyone who doesn't believe this already, nor am I going to attempt to try, but I think when 50 years from now, when history looks back on Donald Trump and Biden, I think you're going to find history viewing Trump more kindly than Biden. I think when it came to the world stage, Donald Trump was more sincere about the common good. He didn't believe in warfare. Look what he did with the, I think they were called the Abraham Accords, which was the peace initiative he put in place with Israel and several Arab nations, which I think if he were still president today, we would not have this
Hamas stuff.
This thing going on right now that, I mean, I'm afraid could ignite the whole world. The pot's going to boil over. Yeah. I think, and he really was sincere in his belief that he didn't want to see young kids from any nation getting killed. I don't believe that's the case today. I think we have an out of control military industrial complex that loves selling weapons. And you know what? Who buy weapons? Companies organizations at war. And so I don't think Trump bought into any of that. And I think the world is actually worse off as a result.
Judge, now that you're here and on camera, what do you think about that? Do you think the world, let's just go with America first, America and or the world is worse off than they were under, I mean, looking at prices, conflicts, do you think it's worse off now than it was under El Trumpo?
No, I don't think it's worse off at all. I think that I think Trump was a clown. I think the rest of the world viewed him as a clown. Within the United States, he obviously inherited a very good economy from the Obama administration, so that helped his reign.
What?
Oh, yeah. Look it up. Look it up.
It's terrible.
This is where the judge says, "Look it up," and then you say, "Where's the facts?" And he says, "I'm not showing you facts."
I left my note. I left my note.
That's not the case.
Non-working ATM.
His notebook is a concrete slab that he does this in.
This is why I don't come over here.
But you cannot deny that there's more conflicts now throughout the world.
Well, to play that on an American president shows a lot of hubris, I think. I think you guys are making the presidency way more important and valuable than it really is in world affairs.
Would you agree, though, that maybe some of these people right now say, "Yeah, we're going to do what we want because Joey B's not going to do anything and he's eating pudding"? No, and none of them would say like El Trumpo, God knows what he's doing.
I completely disagree with that.
Okay.
I think El Trumpo harmed our global position.
I disagree.
I think the other countries thought it was a joke.
But I would agree with Jenna where they thought he was a clown, but it was one of those clowns like the clown from It. Like, I'm not sure what's happening here. Jenna, you were saying something? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he definitely was a clown and you didn't know what he was going to do or say next. But to me, I thought he did great I shouldn't say great, but he did good as a president compared to the one that's there now. I mean, the biggest thing is economy. Like that's gone to shit and it's not gotten any better.
Well, according to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, it has.
The economy?
Go ahead. Oh yeah, she just made a statement. Says it's great.
Oh.
Well, actually, he could have been. People might perceive him as a clown. I'm talking about Trump, but U.S. economy was doing great, and right until or before the coronavirus, we were actually doing really good, and China was afraid of it. Okay, and I think I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory here. I think China was actually kind of okay with all that corona stuff spread all over the place and slowing everybody else down.
I won't say you're wrong on that. Cruz, you're nodding. Let's wrap it up with you, my man.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go off of what Judge said a little bit, I mean, statistically and numbers-wise, he isn't incorrect. But it's important to note that the economy level at which Obama took over at. I was pretty young, but if I recall, there was a little economic issues right before Obama's presidency in 2008 that led him to be able to grow the economy massively. So yeah, there's this like statistic that says, well, Obama's economy grew 2.5% compared to Trump's that only grew 0.9 or 1.4%. I think I don't remember the exact number, but it's important to note what they were given. I don't really have much knowledge of what the economy was like in 16 and 12, considering how young I was. But I can say now, when I was in high school compared to when now I'm in college, things aren't much better than when they were in high school.
Okay. want to thank everyone for watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Remember, this is the end of season 1. We are going to start filming every 2 weeks now to make sure everyone can get here. And hopefully we can figure out the judge's Wi-Fi, or I'm just going to have an angel and a devil on my shoulder, and the devil's going to be the judge. Either that or we're going to get maybe one of those little baby Bjorns, and I'll just put him in my front here with the mic a little closer. Sub 68, come on out. Pick a winner, my man.
Oh wow, you remembered me again. You're 2 for 2 now. Who's getting it who's getting it is the judge, because he actually got up and walked over to your place and actually could stomach sitting with you through the whole episode. So Judge, you get the award for the panelist of the show.
He came over here simply because he didn't want to hear me bitch at him the rest of the night.
I know, but then he has to come and he actually has to walk across the yard and actually be there with you.
And he's from California. His doors are locked. I had to come through the window.
and see, he has to endure that yellow up close and personal. He doesn't have
All right. Make sure you guys keep sharing on YouTube, LinkedIn, Spotify, the NGBN.TV network. Make sure you stay around later for this sultry, seductive voice of AZ Sports Live. He will also be on YouTube, and he will be on the NGBN.TV network. Cheers to having great conversations with everybody.
Cheers.
Actual cheers, Judge.
We're out.
Thanks for watching Decades on the NGBN.TV network. Be sure to spread the word, and don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook.